Okay, here's our Monday class. Should be November 9th, I think. I brought up our last week's assignment with the birdhouse. We're going to continue with some construction now, and we're going to change things up a little bit in that we're going to make it a little bigger and have a few more parts and pieces that we need to deal with. So we're going to kind of work on keeping those parts and pieces organized. So let's use this one as a template, and we'll just do a file, save as. This one will be assignment 12. Hit save, and we'll go in here and clean this up. We'll just take this birdhouse, make sure it says assignment 12 on the top of my screen. We'll hit the delete key. I'm going to make sure all my levels are on. I have to go to global display, just right click and say all on. You can see I still had my 2D views. If we're going to go now to our sheet file, and we'll just clean off all of the leftover material here. And as a matter of fact, I think what we're going to do here is import our 11 by 17 title block for this 3D model. So to do that, what we'll do is we're going to rename these models that we have in here existing, just to make this easier. We'll rename sheet 1 to sheet 1 8.5 by 11. Our title block will rename to 8.5 by 11. And what we're going to do is we're going to import some models. We know on our survey drawing, which I believe was, I have to guess on it now. We'll go to projects. What do I think assignment 4 was my... If I go to thumbnails, I thought maybe it might bring it up. Well, if we open it up, there it is, 11 by 17. So we want to import that title block, and we're going to rename that one 11 by 17, and then we're going to import, same drawing, this time we're going to import the sheet file 11 by 17, and we're going to call this one SHEET 11 by 17, so everything kind of matches up here. And on this one we'll go in and take out the primary model that was attached, the old field hockey drawing, remove all of the garbage that we don't need here. This information can go. So basically we have a seed file that covers a 3D model, default directory, and we'll kind of create this seed for ourselves so we can use it later on. What don't we need? We don't need a perch in here. That's probably kind of specialized. I think the rest of it we can kind of leave in place for now. Well, let's do this. Let's do a file, save as. We'll put this in our seed directory. Go to seeds, and we're going to call this one seed 3D multiple. Meaning it'll be multiple sheets. That saves, and we're going to open up assignment 12 again, which should still be the same way. You can see now instead of one title block, we have two, and we have two different sheet sizes. So that works out pretty good. We're going to work in our 3D model, and we're going to probably start this out in an isometric. And we're going to do a couple things. This isn't going to be a one class project, so this is going to cover 2, maybe 3 classes to get this project done. We're going to build a small building, just probably a shed. It's going to have a window, it's going to have a door, It might have a couple other amenities. I'm not sure what type of roof we'll put on it yet. We're going to start out by creating the door. So let's go to our level manager, right click and say new, and we're going to call this one 3D door. We're going to put everything for the door in one level. We'll make that our active level by just double clicking on it with our data button. Look up at the top, you'll see we're in isometric view, so let's keep it there. Now this door is going to be 3 feet wide, 6 foot 8 inches tall. So I think what we want to start doing now is thinking about working in master units and subunits. So let's go to settings, design file, working units, and now we're going to change it from just MU to MUSU. And our master units are going to be in feet, our subunits, are in inches. Accuracy, we're doing this in architectural, so we're going to go to a fractional dimension, and we'll go to an accuracy of a 1/16 of an inch and say OK. So now when I start drawing a smart line, you'll notice in my XYZ coordinates it's 0. Actually, I'm zoomed out too far here. Let's zoom out away. There we go. Now you can see I'm at 672 feet 11 and 5/8 inches in my X dimension. So now instead of, you can see at 1 foot, there's 2 foot 2 and 7/16, 2 foot 3 and 15/16. Now when we key this in, we key in 2 semicolon 3 space 15/16. You can still key in the decimal place if you want to. When we think about the first thing we're going to draw is the door panel, 3 foot by 6 foot 8. So we're going to go to our solids modeling tool. We'll make sure we're in 3D, and we're going to go to E1, or excuse me, 3D door is our level. E1 for solid slab. Just left click anywhere on the screen and hit F. And here's where we're going to put in the width of the door. The width of the door is going to be 3 feet. The height is going to be 6 semicolon 8. Left click. And then the thickness is going to be semicolon 1.75, or 1 3/4 inches. That's the door panel. Okay, that's the actual size. Now we have to stop and think about the jamb, and what we'll do is rotate this to a top view now, and we're looking at the jamb is the edge of the door, the vertical edges of the door on both sides. We need to think about the door thickness. We need to think about the wall thickness when we're doing this. We could always do a fence stretch if we wanted to, but if we've got a 3.5 inch stud for a 2x4, and it's going to have nothing on the inside, just raw studs, it's just going to be unfinished, but we'll probably make a space for a 1/2 inch sheathing if you ever wanted to do that, and a 1/2 inch on the outside for like 1/2 inch plywood or T111, something like that. So we've got 4.5 inches that we need to deal with here. We'll rotate this to an isometric view, and we're just going to draw that shape. I didn't really need to do that, so we're just going to draw, left click, and first of all, I'm still in a front view. I'm going to hit T for top, so we're going to put the thickness in first at colon or semicolon 4.5, and you notice I don't really care where I'm located because I'll move it later. Whoops, wrong tool. Let's do it again. 4.5. The thickness of this is semicolon 0.75, 3/4 of an inch, and the height is going to be seven feet. Let me get rid of this junk here. What I want to do is just place this right on the edge of the door. So I'm just taking my move tool, I'll do a Control Z, grab it right by this inside corner and just match it up to this corner. Okay, that's the door when it's shut. Let's go to our top view, and I want to pull this ahead about a 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to go to my move tool again, left click on this object, and pull it ahead. Make sure you hit the semicolon 0.5. Okay, so the door will be inset just a little bit. Actually, you know what? That'll make the hinges bind, so just undo that. And we're going to move this a distance of semicolon 1/8, an eighth of an inch. That's to give us some space for our hinges and whatnot. Okay. Now inside this door we're going to have a stop. So we're going to rotate it back to an isometric. And I just got to put this stop anywhere out here. It's going to be 1.5 inches by 1/2 inch stop. So again, we'll stop right here. We'll put in semicolon 0.5, semicolon 1.5, 1.5 inches, and then 7 for the height. Roll it up to a top view again, and we're just going to pull this stop ahead. I'm going to hit enter, snap right here, left and right mouse button or tentative, and just bring it back semicolon 1/8. So there's room there for some weather stripping or a stop or whatnot. If we go back now to our isometric view, let's boolean these two shapes together so it makes up the entire door jamb piece. And we're going to go to T, unite solids, boolean operation. We're going to left click. My machine is deciding to freeze up here for a second. Hold on. There we go. Left click on the outside piece, the inside piece, and now you see it's one shape. Now I purposely made this bigger than it needed to be. Let's rotate it to a front view, and we can see our door with the jamb. What I want to do is mirror that to the other side with our mirror tool, 3/5. Make sure it says vertical, and make copy. Left click on the jamb, and we can see that the compass is laying flat, so we hit F for front, and just find the center point of your door and left click here. Okay, now we need to trim this off after we put the header on. We've got the two jambs and we've got the door panel. Now we need a header. What I'm going to do is copy this piece up anywhere, and then I'm going to rotate it using the 2-point method. Just left click on it anywhere, left click again. I'm just going to pull it around and lock it. Now if I grab it by the center and pull it down here, you can see it's setting right on top of the door, but let's look at it on a right side view. You can see how it moved it inside. So you have to kind of move things around in different views here. If I hit S for side, now for the compass, I'm just going to pull it over until it touches. If I hit the enter key to lock the axis, it won't move me around. See, now that lines everything up. Now we want to bring this down, bring it straight down, hit enter. Again, tentative point, hit O, and you're going to go straight back up, semicolon 1/8. So now that's in place. Let's look at it in an isometric view, and I'm going to change the colors of my frame just so they show up better for you. I'll change those to this fuchsia color. Don't need to change the there. So we can see these three shapes, but they're not really looking just quite like a door frame yet. So let's rotate it to a front view, and we're going to zoom in on this area here, and we want to miter this piece from the corner. I'm going to give this a shot. Smart line tool, make sure that join elements are selected. Spacebar I may need to click in here. Spacebar I, there we go. Find the intersection and hit F. Spacebar I again, find this intersection, and then we're just going to draw a shape all the way around until it comes back and touches right there. Whoops, it should say join elements. Yeah, let me redo it again. Spacebar I, spacebar I. Always keep an eye on your, see how that jumped? You see what happened? My compass went a little berserk here. So I'm gonna try to do this without I'm going to start over here. Sometimes this works. My left mouse button. Now it doesn't want to let me draw anything. Getting weird on me a little bit. Just change tools. No compass. So I'm gonna just let me just close out of MicroStation and reopen it again. Usually that'll fix it. If it didn't, I'll have to stop and fix things up. Alright, so what I'm going to do is hit the enter key just to lock the axis and see if that spacebar I. Yeah, see, it's flipping out on me. Let's just take our line. I hate doing this. So I'm going to snap to that point, and I'm just going to I'll just cross it. So I just kind of eyeballed it when I went through there. So oh, dang it, the join elements didn't work. Alright, I have another solution. Take your W1, place a block. This will actually be easier. Just place a block like this. Take that block and move it to from using the center point, move it down to spacebar I so you can snap it right there. Now we're going to rotate this block using the rotate tool. 2 points. God, I hope this works. Select the object, spacebar I right here, just roll it up, spacebar I right to there. Whew. Okay, so we've got that one. Now what I'm going to do is copy that down to here. I know I'm crazy. Take this tool, select both of these objects, and mirror those along a vertical axis. Make sure you say make copy and bring it right to this side. So now you see we have two on either side. And you're saying to yourself, what the heck is he doing? Okay, here's what I'm going to do. And we'll do the left side first. Matter of fact, I should save those. I'm going to put those, I guess I already drew them in the default, so they're going to stay there. So we can turn them off. We may need these later on too. I'm going to take my cut solid tool, make sure I go back into solids modeling, cut solid, and I'm going to take this jam piece and I want to cut it. In other words, I'm going all the way through both sides, both directions, all the way through. Don't need to split it, but I want to cut it with that rectangle. See how it puts that 45 on there? Now I want to grab this one and I want to cut it with this rectangle. Actually, let's go back, say keep the profile, because I may need those, so let's not get rid of them just yet. This horizontal to this one. Now we're going to go to this one and select this rectangle to cut it. And remember, it's only cutting the object that I'm selecting. So now when we turn off our default level, I want to go back into 3D door as my active level, and we'll turn off default so those disappear temporarily. You can see now when we go to an isometric view that we've got a pretty nice looking frame here to start with. We can roll it around. We can see on the door, there's our door stops on the inside. Everything's nice and tight, neatly cut with 45s. We'll roll it back to a front or roll it back to an isometric. And what we're going to do now is put the jambs on here. So I'm going to, not the jambs, but the casing trim, the wood trim. This will just be a wood frame door. So we're just going to use nothing fancy, just some square stock. It's probably going to end up being a shed anyway. So we're just going to put the framing on the outside. So I want to come down here, and this framing is going to start halfway through this door frame. It's going to be a 1/2 inch thick by 2 inches wide. And I'm going to change my color again to something different so it shows up. I'll use this yellow color. We just start with a block. Just find this center point. This is a 3D block, solid block. Hit T, and we're going to come out colon 0.5. You know what? I didn't do a save setting, so it didn't remember my working units went to feet and inches. Sorry about that. I will do it this time. We went to a 1/16 of an inch. Control F, save the settings. Practice what you preach. Semicolon 0.5, semicolon 2, 7. I can grab this right by this corner, pull it over here, and match it up. And the reason I grab that corner is because I want that to match up to this center point here. So we're leaving 3/8 of this door frame exposed. Let's roll this up to a top view, or excuse me, a front view. We'll take that jam piece that we just created, copy it. I'll hit F for front, and we're going to rotate it. Remember, 90 degrees. Just left click on it. I'm using the 2-point method. Just whip it up here, and then we're going to take this over, place it right on top of the door, rotate it to a side view or right side view. You can see how that jumped in. We want it out on the face, so it just moved to a different Z depth. S for side, hit enter, and just move it up here. And we want that to be, we want this corner, I'll hit enter, lock the axis to be halfway, and I can move this over. Well, it's not finding my halfway point. Should. Just going to leave it up there for right now. I'm going to rotate this to an isometric and see if I can grab that edge. I don't think it will because I made that into a shape too quickly. So we'll go around to the right side again. We know that's a 3/4 inch shape, so we just grab it with the move tool right by this corner, pull it straight down, hit enter to this point, and we'll just move it up. We'll say semicolon 3/8, 3/8 of an inch, left click, and then that puts it to the center. We'll roll it around to a front view now and do a fit view. We're going to turn on that default level that we turned off before. You can see now these diagonals run through the same point. So we're going to take that cut solid tool again, keep the profile here to here, and here to here, here to here, and here to here. Turn off default level, and we should be able to get rid of this piece. If we look at this in an illustration and kind of rotate it around, we see now that we've got this. It's a white door with a door frame that goes into the rough opening, the trim that goes on the outside only at this point. We'll just face that in there. So now let's look at it from a front view again. You can see that we don't have any gap underneath the door here. If I take this door and just grab this side, I can actually pull it straight up, hit enter, and let's say I want a 1/2 inch gap under this door, 1/2 inch undercut. I'll just move this up by just grabbing one of these blue squares. Once I selected it, pull it straight up, and we're going to key in semicolon 0.5, and that puts our undercut under the door. So when we place this in here, the door is not going to bind on the floor. So you can actually do that to anything that you want. Let's think now about the hinges that we're going to show on the door. So let's go to an isometric. We'll change it back to a wireframe. And we'll go in here to the edge of the door. And we're going to put a 3.5 inch hinge on here. What I think I'll do is draw the hinge outside. So let me change the color to something else, this brown color. I'm going to go to a thicker line style so that you can see it better. I'm just going to put a barrel cylinder here. Just left click, hit T for top, and we want to put the radius in here. The hinge itself is going to be 3/8 of an inch diameter, so we're going to key in 3/16. Whoops, semicolon 3/16. Start it again. There we go. And the height of that is going to be semicolon 3.5. Now we're going to start in the center here. And we're going to draw a flap. Oops, that's an extrusion tool. We don't want to extrude it. We just want to do a slab here. We know that the thickness of the door is 1.5 inches. So we're going to make this 2 inches. Semicolon 2. Yeah, I knew there was something wrong with that barrel. And the thickness is semicolon 1/8. The length is semicolon 3.5. There we go. Alright, so that's a hinge flap. This cylinder is too short, so I just select it, and I can grab one of those blue squares. I can hit the enter key and just bring it right down to the bottom. And we can take this copy tool. We'll copy this to here, so it makes both flaps of the hinge. Let's roll it up to a top view so that we can see it a little bit better. And we probably want to separate these a little bit. I mean, these aren't to manufacturer specs, so we'll just pull this in just a little bit in this direction. So we want to show that gap. And that looks good. And then we can just mirror that vertical axis. Use the center of the cylinder. So I want to show that gap, rotate it back to an isometric, and then we'll just boolean these pieces together. So when we look at it again in illustrated mode with shadows, you can see it kind of looks like a hinge. So now we're going to place these hinges in the door. Go back to a wireframe. We'll rotate it to a top view. Do a fit view here. And there's our hinge and there's our door. We're going to take this first one and I'm going to place this. I'm just going to move it over and kind of place it into the door area. So we want that recessed about halfway in either direction. Roll it up to a front view. Do a fit view here. There's our hinge. We want 3 hinges on the door. So I'll take my selection tool, select that hinge by just dragging across it, and we'll move it up to the top. Now this is something that you can kind of eyeball, because again, we're not specifying a specific manufacturer, we're just kind of drawing a door. This center one wants to be kind of towards the middle of the door, about halfway, and this one should be up about 6 inches. So we can see that the door is going to swing on the right side, and it'll have to swing out because we got our stops on the inside. We could always select the whole thing and mirror it and change it later if we wanted to. Let's think now about the doorknob. Let's roll it to an isometric and zoom right in. I'm going to see if I can do this in an illustrated mode. Let's try transparent, and I can see the edge of the door possibly. Yeah, it lines up with this one though, so it's kind of hard. We'll see if we can do it. I'm going to take my cylinder shape. I'm going to change this to this color 20, and I'm going to grab this right there by the corner. Left and right mouse button and hit O. And I'm going to go over a distance of semicolon 2.75, and I'm going to move, oops, needed to be in XY coordinates. Let's try it again. O, semicolon 2.75, go straight up. I want to be up, the door is 6'8", I want to be up a distance of 3 feet. Pan up. This is what we call the rose of the door, which is that wide cylinder that fits right up against the door. And this one's going to be an overall radius of 2.5 inches. So we're going to put an overall diameter of 2.5 inches. So we're going to put in a radius of semicolon 1.25. Left click, and then we're going to put a thickness on this of semicolon 0.2. There's our doorknob, the rose. Inside that, we're going to place a cylinder. That's the part that keeps your knuckles from scraping on the door. And this is going to have a radius of semicolon 0.4. We're going to pull that out a distance of semicolon 1.5. Okay. We're going to put a round knob on it, so we'll just take a sphere, grab it right by the end, and we're going to put our sphere on here at semicolon 0.75. Okay. I have this in translucent, that's why it looks the way it does. Let's boolean these shapes together. So everything is correct. Rotate it up to a top view. So we can see our doorknob right here. We want to mirror that to the other side. So we're going to take our mirror tool. We're going to select horizontal, make copy. Just left click on this. You see my cursor, my compass is vertical, so I have to hit T. Come right in here, find the center point of our door, and that way it puts the doorknob on both sides. Let's change this to a illustration now so you can't even see the door. roll it up to an isometric, rotate view or fit view, and we'll take a look at it. So there's our door. It's going to swing out. We've got our hinges, got all our parts and pieces, so everything looks pretty good. That's our 3D door for our shed or workshop. Let's put a window in the door. Rotate it to a front view. The window is going to be 20 inches by 24 inches. 24 inches wide. So I'm just going to draw this in blue. Draw a rectangle. I have to hit F. Semicolon 20 by 2. There's the size of our window. We're going to move this so it's in the center of the door, and it's down 1 foot. That's where our window's going. Rotate it to an isometric view, and we're going to actually use that to cut, and we want to keep the profile. We want to select the door, then the profile, left click again. That actually put the hole through. Now why am I leaving this here? I'm going to actually use this to show the glass, so I'm going to take my move tool, we'll rotate, change this to a wireframe, and I'm going to take that blue shape, hit T for top, and move it right in to the inside of the glass. And we're going to extrude this 1/4 inch, semicolon 0.25, and then actually I can move it again using this point just to get it to the center. So now when we render this piece, you'll see some reveal on here to show where that glass is inside. And we can put a bunch of trim around it, but we really don't need to at this point. It's just kind of a basic door. We can detail it up as much as you'd like, but just to show you how relatively simple it is to put these things together. Now, the next thing we need to do is we're going to build a window. So I want to take my level manager, select it. We're going to right click and say new. This one's going to be called 3D window. The interesting thing about the 3D window is the frame components are the same as the door. So if I select the entire door piece and hit copy, I'll just make a copy of the door, and I remove the door itself, including the glass, so I'm just left with the frame. I don't even want the hinges. And what I'm going to do is then change this whole component structure, hit the change tool, 5-1, and I want to change this, not the color, just the level, to 3D window. And just all I do is select 3D window for the level and left click on the screen. Now if I make 3D window my active level and turn off 3D door, I'm just left with this frame piece. So we're making this work for us. I've got a couple other tricks now. I'm going to take my front view. I'm going to take the whole frame, and I'm going to mirror that on a horizontal axis and make a copy. Oops, must have my cursor in the wrong direction. Try F for front. Now we'll try it again. Sometimes that mirror is a little fussy if you don't have the compass in the right direction. Bring it straight down and just left click. You see what I did? I just kind of made a frame here. If I take my isometric view now, well, that's interesting. Why do I have two of them? Must have accidentally copied something. My mistake. So I got two of these now, and what I'm going to do is boolean these shapes together. I want to boolean this to this, this to this, this to this, that to that. So it's all one unit now. They're separate pieces, but it's all one unit. Rotate it around to a front view, and let's say this window isn't 3 feet by however long it is. We actually want to shorten up the width of this by 6 inches. I'm going to take a fence. I'm going to put a fence around one side, and I'm going to use the 2-3 tool to manipulate the fence contents. All I want to do is stretch this, but sometimes when we think of stretch, we think of making things bigger. I want to make it smaller, so just left click, pull it in 0.5 feet, left click. So it's shorter in that direction. Let's put a fence on the bottom, and I'm not sure how far I want to make this, but let's assume this is my sash height. I want it to be 4 feet. So if I take my manipulate tool again with the fence on and grab this right by the inside of the rough frame, pull it straight up and hit enter, and go right to that point, it's going to shorten my frame up to a 2.5 by 4. So just select the fence tool to delete that, get rid of this piece, and now we've got an isometric window frame that we can start putting together. It still has stops in it, but that'll work all right for us anyway. We're going to start by putting a this is going to be a double hung window, single hung, so we need 2 sashes in here. If I take the inside leg of this, and let me change the color of this, so I'm going to use this light blue. I'm going to grab this right by that corner, and I'm going to go up until it snaps to a halfway point, and I'm going to bring it all the way over to this side. Oh shoot, can't see that corner. See if I can change it to wireframe on the fly. No, can't. Anyway, we'll make it work. There's the corner I'm looking for. To this corner. Bring it up, pardon me, halfway. And we're going to bring it inside until it hits the stop. That's our window sash. If we take a shape, and I'm going to change this color to green so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to trace a 2-dimensional rectangular shape right on the inside and do a parallel 3-9 parallel move. We don't want to make a keep the original. I just want to move this in a distance of semicolon 0.75. That's actually the thickness of my frame wood, and use that to cut this shape. Use our cut solid. I don't want to keep the profile this time. Select the framework, select this, and that makes a cut to indicate our frame. We could put a bunch of mullions in here if we wanted to, but in this case let's just put a, I guess I could have kept that piece. I'm going to go to a different color. We'll again trace the inside. We're going to move that shape, hit T, move it right into the center. We'll extrude that semicolon 0.25, 1/4 inch glass. There it is right there, and then we'll move that to the center like that. If we look at this in a illustrated mode with shadows, we start to see something that starts to look like a window, lower half of the sash. And like I said, if you want to put some mullions in here, we could actually start, we probably do 3 mullions vertically and 2 mullions sideways. So before we copied this up to become the top sash, what we'd want to do is put our mullions in here. Now that can be pretty easy. We can actually just draw a stick, and we'll start right here in the center, and I'm just going to go like not all the way to the other side, just beyond the glass area. And hit the enter key. Oops. There we go. Lock the axis, and this is going to be a piece of wood that's 5/8 of an inch, so semicolon 5/8, and I'm going to round the edges of this off, semicolon 0.25 on the top and on the bottom, both sides. We'll grab it right by the middle of this end, pull it in this direction, hit enter, and then I want to lock it right to that point. If we look at this in a rendered view now, what we'll see is a little better resolution. I should draw that in a different color, so I'll change it to this 24. Alright, so I just did that once. If I change my snap mode, hit the K key and hit 3, in other words, then I can grab this right by the edge. We're going to move it first. Hit the center point and hit F. Pull it straight up, hit enter. You see how it snaps here? Now what we're going to do is a copy. I want to copy it right from this point. To get the, I need to hit 2 first to get a hold of it. Right there. And I hit K and hit 3. I come down here, you see how it finds that point. So that evenly divided that window sash up. Let's take this tool and rotate it. Say make a copy, but I want to left click on this, and I want to, I don't know why I grabbed it there, but hit enter. I'm going to pull this right down into the window frame. Pull it straight down below and hit enter, and then I can pull it back up and make sure that it locks right onto that edge. It sticks out above the top, don't worry about that just yet. If I want to move that now, spacebar K and hit 2. Go to move. T. Doesn't like me. When in doubt, change it to wireframe. There we go. Get the center, spacebar K, and we'll go 3. So there's 1. Now we're going to copy it, spacebar K, 2, find the center point, K, 3, and that should locate this point. Roll this up to a front view, and then we can just draw F, a block like that, and we're going to use that block to cut the tops of these off. So we left click here, keep the profile, because we need it for 2 cuts. Actually, we don't need it. Let me show you. Don't keep the profile. Left click here and here. See if I can cut them both. There we go. Good. Now let's take this whole bottom sash and we're going to copy that straight up to the underside. Don't deselect it yet though. Rotate it to a right side view. And we're going to pull this. Actually, that one should be on the outside. We need to pull the bottom one. So I'm going to grab that one on the bottom, zoom right in here, and I'm going to move that. Hit S for side. Just move it inside so it's inside this window sash frame. Rotate it to an isometric view. Now when we render this as an illustration with shadows, you can see that we get somewhat of a realistic looking double hung window. If we added some material to this, in other words went to settings, rendering, materials, palette, open, it's palette open, and we're going to go to glass. Somewhere here I've got glass, double click, being slow, there we go. I want some clear glass, refractioned, hit assign material, and then we'll just say I want to assign glass to this material and I want to assign glass to that material. Each time I do that, see how that made it translucent. If we want to put a finish color on the windows, I'll go to palette open, we're going to go to interior finishes, and let's see what we got here. Paint eggshell white, assign, and I like to use the attach because then it's every time I left click on something, that item becomes that color. Even though it's the same color and same level, I can assign different materials to different aspects of it. And if I give this drawing to somebody else, they're going to get those same color reactions to it. Let me just turn it around and make sure I've got all the parts and pieces. Looks like everything is white. If I were to put a temporary big rubber ball behind the glass, and rotate it up, because it's translucent, you'd be able to see that ball through the glass. So we'll get this translucency set up as we go. So this whole class is going to be set up on creating the window and the door, and then Wednesday's class we're going to start working on the framing, the floor, the walls, the ceiling, the roof, and then put our door and window into those, or do the same thing at the same time. So today's class, doors and windows. Okay, thank you.